Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you to our board meeting. And at this time, we're fortunate to have an awesome young man, Russell Hart. He's a fifth grade student at Orange Beach Elementary School. Russell was not only honored tonight as a top 1% student, but he had perfect attendance last year. And Russell is going to bring us our invocation. Russell?
Please bow your head in the invocation. Dear Lord, we gather here today. Help us to remember our strength with the verse Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Help the teachers, staff, and students through the school year to remember your strength. Help everyone to reach out to you as we learn, grow, and thrive throughout the entire year. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Russell. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Kendall Courtney. She's the vice president of the 9th grade class, and Kendall was also honored tonight as a top 1% student. Kendall.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Kendall. We can now have roll call, please.
Mr. McKinney?
Here.
Dr. Bauer?
Here.
Ms. Robinson?
Here.
Ms. Nix?
Here.
Mr. Stewart?
We have an agenda. We have a quorum, so now we have the agenda on the table that you've had an opportunity to review. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Bauer, second by
Shannon
several
Robinson.
people.
Shannon Robinson.
Okay, Shannon. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
And no abstentions or against, so it's approved. The agenda as presented is approved. The consideration of the previous minutes. You've had an opportunity to review these minutes in the portal. Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Nix, a second by Shannon Robinson. Any discussion, changes, concerns? Those in favor say aye. Aye. No opposition. The motion carries.
And I'm going to abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay. We got an abstention because of you were not present at that meeting, right? But
That's right.
it was for good cause, Robert. You were on our mind for that. Recognition of guests.
We have several guests with us tonight. We did not do the typical sign-in sheet, but please know that you're always welcome at any of our meetings. We just appreciate you being here.
And we had no one to sign up for public comments.
Did not.
Announcements.
First of all, we've got some important dates that are up and coming. I'll remind everyone of the MAC Gala, 5:30 p.m. on this Saturday, I believe that is, Perdido Beach Resort. We have open house at the middle high school, Mr. Shaw, on the 13th. On the 15th, the Meet the Makos, if you'll draw a line through that, we're going to do Meet the Makos a little bit differently this year. My understanding from Coach Alexander today is that we're going to meet the Mako at various times throughout the football season. Is that correct, Mr. Shaw? So we'll be meeting the Makos all year long, okay? So scratch through that. Friday night, our students are singing with Foreigner. If you don't have your tickets, need to get the tickets. I don't know if they're sold out or not. That is going to be an absolute treat. Sticks and some other group, John somebody will be, I'm sorry, again, if it's after the 1980s, I don't know anything about music. He's pretty good? Okay. He's a one-hit wonder, more than I have. All right? Guys, we talked last time about our next board meeting so that we can get a second budget hearing in. I'd like to ask again that we do that on the 22nd. That's 2 weeks from today. That'll give the public plenty of time to respond to the budget hearing. And then it'll give us an opportunity to get it to the State Department in plenty of time. Notice that I have one additional contract item. I could have put on there today, but I just really wanted to not overwhelm anyone. We had a lot going on tonight. Maybe I was the one wanting to be overwhelmed. But, so
Is the August 22nd?
Thursday.
What time? Yeah, what time is that?
Noon.
Noon. Okay.
if we could do that at City Hall, Mr. Stewart, that'd be great. And then on the 12th, that too will be at noon at City Hall. The reason for that is that's the Thursday before homecoming, and we have the community beach pep rally set for that night. I think all of us would like to be able to go and participate in that. So that one is at 12. What I asked you guys in the board correspondence was, and the city I think does very similar to this, they have work sessions perhaps sometimes in one meeting, and then immediately following that meeting, they go into the next meeting. And we could advertise that way if it behooves you. Is that okay, Mr. Campbell, if we do that? Okay. Okay. Mr. McKinney, is that okay with the board members? Just have the work session and go right into the meeting itself. Okay. If you got concerns about that, just let me know and we can adjust. You see the community pep rally there. Homecoming's on the 13th. Our whole board training, 6 hours, on the 16th. And I think Ms. Courtney has done a good job of conveying that to you. And then the weekend of October the 4th, that is the Freedom Festival. So there's a lot coming up. There's a lot more than this. There are all types of extra and co-curricular activities coming up. I did not list all those because it's, go to the Mako Athletic website. Is that right, Mr. Shaw? They do a good job of letting us know all about those things. Any questions on any of those important dates? I do not have to go back through the state of schools. You've seen the publication. You have videos on that, the strategic plan, and assessments. And I think we've fairly well covered that in our work session. And then I'm going to ask Ms. Law, would you mind coming up and just talking to us briefly here tonight? I'll give you my microphone about the NOSHA, excuse me, I can't even get it out right, the NOAA Ocean Guardian School. Come up on stage if you don't mind, please. Mr. Campbell's going to loan his microphone to you. This is a tremendous honor, one more honor for our elementary school. I believe it's year one, is it not, Ms. Law?
We just completed year one.
Yeah.
And so at the end of year one, they recognized us as being an Ocean Guardian school. And our CSAN and Stars, Rachel Ellsworth, really headed this up. But there was a big initiative to reduce the amount of marine debris. So our students went out and collected trash, weighed it. There was a little friendly competition, I think, amongst the teachers. They were weighing the marine debris, but they have been working on learning all about the watershed and different ways to protect our environment. So we're excited about it, and they're going to continue expanding that program. So big news. They're super excited about it. So
Thank you, Ms. Law. Any questions from Ms. Law?
So I think the only question I have is, so how do you go about becoming a NOAA school? I mean, what is that? Is there an application process?
there is a pretty extensive application process, and we had to renew the application again this year and submit it, and then you have to prove that you're doing all the things that you put in place. I mean, it's you start kind of small, school-wide initiative, and then they eventually want you to expand it. We're already kind of expanding it to the community in some ways with us going out into the community to make an impact, but eventually they want it to be even bigger and better. So over 5 years where you expand the reach.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. I saw that there was less than 600 schools nationwide that are classified, so that's pretty awesome.
It definitely is a process. So I would can understand why Rachel Ellsworth really was the one that spearheaded it and has done a great job.
Thank you, Ms. Long, very much. And the only other announcement I have before I forget for like the third time tonight, Jake Clemens, we appreciate you staying back tonight, sir, and helping us with the sound and the lights. I didn't see the smoke a while ago. That's still to come? I think Ms. Cherney had that earlier this afternoon. She was steaming the tablecloths and fog was coming up everywhere. I don't know if she thought her machine was on fire or what, but that was pretty cool. So, Mr. McKinney, that's all the announcements.
Thank you. Let's move to the budget hearing.
Mr. Gray is going to come on stage, and he is going to walk us through the first reading of our budget.
Can you all hear me okay? Everybody? Sure. Let's see. All right, good afternoon. You may have noted when you came in, I had put some documents out front for your review. If you would like to pick those up, you may. Some things in a binder that may also interest you some. And then this will also be at some point posted to the school website. So that is all mentioned in the binder out front if you'd like to have a look. Is that better?
Yes, kind of
lean into it. Very good. So, as always, it's a pleasure to come together and discuss the financial aspects of our school system. The past 6 or 7 days have been truly inspiring, from Institute last week to the first day of school, the recognition of the incredible achievements of the Mako Scholar Society just a few moments ago. It's been a journey of success. I want to express my gratitude to my colleagues and the team for their individual efforts in creating the budget this year. Your contributions have been invaluable, and I'm confident we've put together a budget we can be proud of. Before we delve into the details, I want to underscore the strategic plan's pivotal role in the budgeting process. It's not just a document, but a roadmap that guides our financial decisions and ensures we are aligned with our long-term goals. I must also mention the importance of our mission statement and the 4 pillars which provide our core values: integrity, respect, trust, honesty, and caring, as we know as the Mako way. Part 4 of our strategic plan addresses our resources and is broken down into 2 parts. Part A refers to the resources invested in people. Part B refers to the resources invested to maintain operational efficiency. In the packet you have, the budget presentation should begin on page 24. We are very quickly going to jump to page 25. And I'm going to try to do this without a screen. We will begin with the combined budget of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Today's primary focus will be the general fund, the special revenue fund, and the capital projects fund. Please note the $74,000 in the total column labeled excess revenues over under expenditures. It's in the bottom right-hand corner. This shows that we have a balanced budget and represents the total projected impact on fund balance for the year. And we'll talk more about those specific revenues in those funds in just a moment. If you'll jump to page 26, we'll talk about CIS, technology, and library enhancement funds. There's been a slight change this year on how the district will allocate funds to the schools. Based on what we've learned over the past year, we believe this will be a better solution for the local schools. You'll notice at the top there, our ADM from last year was $1,220. And then we'll kind of go into teacher material and supplies. The state has said they will provide $900 per certified unit, and we will as well. Those funds will be made available October 1 in Class Wallet, just like we did last year. Technology funds will be distributed to the schools to pay for their copier leases. And please note that the other technology needs will be handled from the central office level. Library enhancement funds will be transferred directly to each school based on the number of certified units. That is exactly how that happened last year. A change here, professional development and textbooks will be funded through central office. So those needs will be met from the central office level. And then for the common purchases money that the state said they would give, we essentially are going to use that money to purchase paper for the schools. That way teachers are not using their classroom instruction money to pay for copy paper. We will move on to page 27. We will receive categorical aid from the state in the same manner as we have in the past, and those values are noted here. You'll see the school nurse program, $207,000, technology coordinator, roughly $70,000, transportation for operations, $267,000, fleet renewal, $38,000, at risk, $16,600, career tech O&M, $9,500. That is for us $56,235 a month. This is about $7,000 more than last budgeted year. And as always, please note, we do participate in the foundation program, but we do not receive foundation funds. All right, if you will skip to page 28, we will kind of jump back and look at general fund, special revenue fund, and capital projects revenues. For the general fund, it will be $22.3 million with expenses of $20.5 million. Special revenue fund will have revenues of $1.5 million and expenses of $2.2 million. And the capital projects fund will have revenues of $25.2 million with expenses of $25.9 million. Note that transfers in and out have been removed from these numbers so that you can see the actual revenue and expenses in each fund. The difference in revenues and expenditures can be noted in the other sources, funds, and uses at the bottom of the B1 statement, which was the first page we looked at. Primary examples of these transfers would be for CIS funds, athletic and arts funds from central office, and child nutrition. Any questions as we move along? All right, page 29, you'll see there at the top, total general fund payroll of $15.7 million. And then you'll see noted the head counts for each school. So quickly note at the bottom, CMP, classified position, and bus drivers are equal at each site. At OBES, certified locally funded positions are 48. Certified state positions are 3. Certified federal positions are 5. And at OBMHS, certified local positions 54, state 2, and federal 1. State-funded units are funded through grant money, and federally funded units are through IDEA Title 1, 2, and 4. They are paid through the special revenue fund and therefore not in that general fund payroll number. And the special revenue fund also includes CMP personnel. Page 30, moving along in headcount, you can see paraprofessionals at OBES of 6 and OBMHS of 5 for a total cost of payroll and benefits, $643,000. Clerical and nurses of 4 at OBES and 6 at the middle high school for a payroll impact of $633,000. Total there, 21 head count with a total payroll value of $1.3 million. All right, we'll move right along and jump kind of into the specifics of the general fund. You'll see the next slide to look at is page 32 in your packet. And this is general fund revenues, and these are local revenue sources. So for 2025, ad valorem, District ad valorem, we anticipate $5.4 million. That is Orange Beach money levied in Orange Beach and staying in Orange Beach. Countywide ad valorem, $2.5 million. That is levied through the county and distributed to us based really on a population number as a whole of Baldwin County. Sales tax revenue, $3.7 million, and then you'll see 2% local tax, $8.6 million. That is lodging. These total to $20.3 million and make up roughly 86% of total revenue, which is consistent with our expectations. While we have not received, I have not received the tax abstracts for next year as of today, but I do consider these numbers to be conservative. All right, move along and look at expenses for the general fund by function. Page 33 in your packet. This slide provides a breakdown of general fund expenses by function. Please note the expenditures for each function code and the associated percent of the overall general fund expenditures. This excludes transfers out. So you can see instructional expenses are 53% of our budget at $10.9 million. Instructional support, 21%, $4.3 million. Operations and maintenance, right at 13%, $2.6 million. Auxiliary services, 2%, $443,000. G&A, 8% at $1.8 million. And then other expenditures, 1.8%, $375,000. One thing I always like to note, and it's something we keep an eye on, instructional and instructional support combined to be roughly 74-75% of our total general fund budget. All right, page 35, we'll talk a little bit and kind of get into the federal funds. IDEA and Title I, II, and IV are primarily earmarked for salary and benefits for us. These positions were noted in the earlier slides when we looked at head count. You'll see for IDEA, and this is only special education, $235,000. Title I, II, and IV, $230,000. Career Tech, CTE, $11,500. Move on to page 36. Revenues and expenses for CMP. You'll see revenues $723,000, expenses of $713,000. Please note the revenue does include $300,000 in transfers from the general fund to help cover expenses we do not receive funding on. All right. The next section is for capital projects, and we'll jump to page 38. City appropriations for capital, we're estimating to be $25.1 million, and then you saw the transportation number early on there. That is $37,900. You may, in your packet, there was the error there, so please ignore the $29.5 million in capital outlay. That is intended to be your total budgeted capital expenditures. So really on your presentation, that row should read 0. And then the capital project fund will show a other fund source of $615,000 in transfers from the general fund. And we'll talk about that here briefly. All right, page 39. Expenditures related to the athletic facility are anticipated to be $25.1 million. This is based on the project being completed next fiscal year in consideration of expenditures recognized by September 30th of this year. Please also note the line, you need to add a line there for capital outlay, and I have in the next presentation we'll have it. It should be $718,000. This is what the transfer from the general fund is to cover, and this will be for expenses related to furnitures and fixtures for the athletic facility and career tech education. All right, page 40. Talk about transportation a little bit. Currently, we are still operating 6 buses on routes. The fleet renewal funds there, $37,900. State operation fund, $268,000. And then you see the expense side, payroll, which includes salary and benefits, $295,000. Services budget, $46,000. Supplies and materials, $132,000, for a total operational budget for transportation of $472,680. There is no significant notes or changes to this budget from the prior year. And then page 41, this should be your last page here. Talk about the budget facts. Average per pupil expenditure, $18,475. Current enrollment, and this was earlier in the week, so these may have changed, but I'll update. 1,223, that includes pre-K through 12th grade. 579 students at OBES, 644 students at the middle high school. 71% of our teachers have advanced degrees. Our teachers have an average of 12 years of experience. And for this budget, 1 month's operating cost is equivalent to roughly $1.9 million, and this does not include capital. That is all I have. If you will have any questions.
Well, there it goes. On the total budgeted revenue and expenses FY 2025, it's page 28. So so the way I think I understand, so on the special revenue fund, the reason why the expenses were more than the revenues is because there's some transfers that aren't reflected.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay.
So that's money for, I thought I went through that, but it's essentially CIS money. It is money that we transfer for athletics, and it will also encompass CMP in that as well.
CIS would be material supplies.
All right.
Library
Then, so, but yeah, just the main thing is the reason why it's those deficit is because of it doesn't show the transfers, I guess. But then, and then the capital projects and fund revenues.
Okay.
So the 25,150,000, that includes the 615 in transfers?
It does not.
It does not.
So the 615 in transfers is to help cover the capital outlay expenditure of 718,000. So those are funds that we will not receive. Well, basically, we'll use local general fund money to pay for those.
Okay.
And to balance that fund, we must make that transfer.
10-4, all right. And I only have, I think, the last two are probably pretty close. The child nutrition, it says includes 300 in transfers. Okay, never mind. That answers that one. And that's it. That's it. Thank you.
Very good.
I had a question real quick
Yes, sir.
on the 2% local tax and the local revenues. Are you seeing that from last year? Is that up or down?
We'll know more in a couple of weeks, but really it's consistent. After my conversations, really just took a conservative amount and took a couple $100,000 off to what we expect to see.
Was so bad down here. It was so slow. I mean, it was kind of hard to catch up when you fall behind like that, and then you're always trying to play catch up. I think July was record numbers, and so hopefully.
There was a very strong June and July. That was noted at the city meeting earlier in the week. So we'll see some of that money from June here pretty soon.
I have a question. Based
Okay.
on this budget, what will we have in reserve?
Your reserve will not change much based off of where we said we would be at amendment time. So it's pretty much a balanced budget, even considering some of the transfers that we'll have to make. Now, the positive thing is I think we're going to come in a little bit ahead of what we anticipated at amendment time, which I think we were saying somewhere around 3 months. And I think we'll be there. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Without the capital, the budget would be around 24 million, right? If you didn't have the 25 million.
Yes, sir. Total operations will be
Right.
right at $24 million.
Yeah, and so that's kind of been, so that's pretty consistent to, or pretty close to where we were, was it not?
It is very much.
Yeah, okay.
That gets us down to our action items, and turn it over to Mr. Wilkes for the first one.
The superintendent recommends the approval of the following personnel recommendations. Mr. McKinney, I'll ask if there are any set-asides.
Any set-asides from the board members? Seeing none, no, sir.
Superintendent recommends employment of certified employees for the 24-25 school year. The temporary part-time employment recommendation of certified employees for the 24-25 school year. In regards to classified persons, the resignation of a classified person for the 23-24 school year, the employment recommendations of a classified employee of the 24-25 school year.
The superintendent has made a recommendation. You have had an opportunity to review the portal. The chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Robinson, second by Dr. Bauer for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And there is no opposition, the motion carries. The next item, if you just keep going when we finish,
Yes, sir.
please.
Action item number 2, mental health services for employees. The recommendation is that the superintendent recommends board approval of the following employee mental health services agreement.
You've had an opportunity to review that in your packet. The chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Robinson, second by Ms. Nix. Discussion. Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There is no opposition, the motion carries.
Sorry, I'm not used to the
That's okay.
paper. Action item number 3, the employee compensation resolution. The superintendent recommends the approval of the attached employee compensation resolution. If there's a first and a second, during comments, I would like to read the resolution.
The chair would entertain a motion concerning the recommended resolution for compensation.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Nix, second by
Second.
Ms. Robinson. Mr. Wilkes.
The resolution 2024-03, whereas the Orange Beach Board of Education desires to the greatest extent possible to compensate employees in a manner that correlates to the community's cost of living, thereby exceeding the state's minimum salary for board employees. And whereas during the 23-24 school year, Orange Beach City Schools demonstrated improvements in the following areas: attendance, ACAP proficiency scores, ACT composite scores, AP scores. Whereas during the 23-24 school year, the Orange Beach City Schools received Cognia accreditation score of 329, global average 253, completed 2 financial audits with 0 findings, received outstanding family survey ratings. Whereas during the 23-24 school year, Orange Beach City Schools received copious awards and recognitions. Whereas prior to the fiscal year 2024, the Orange Beach Board of Education unanimously agreed to grant a 2% and a 1% salary increase for every board employee. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Orange Beach Board of Education commends the Orange Beach Board of Education employees for extraordinary performance during the 23-24 school year and thereby grants a 2% pay increase to all employees, excluding the superintendent, effective October 1, 2024.
Okay, you've heard the resolution. We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There is no opposition. The motion carries. And thank you to all of our employees for great work. It's much appreciated.
Action item number 4, Mako Way Board Resolution. Superintendent Wilkes recommends board approval of the attached resolution naming the drive connecting William Silvers Parkway and the Performing Arts parking area the Mako Way. We have a first and second. During comments, I would like to read the resolution.
The chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Bauer, second by Ms. Nix.
Resolution 2024-04, whereas the Orange Beach Board of Education owns property at the address of 23908 Canal Road, recorded as PIN 77316, parcel 6601014001.002.000, and whereas the Orange Beach City Schools was established July 1, 2022, board members meticulously crafted the system's mission statement declaring the pillars of academics, skills acquisition, character, and citizenship as foundational. And whereas regarding the pillar of character, the board envisioned a school system and a community where stakeholders model honesty, trust, respect, caring, and integrity, thereby living the Mako way. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Orange Beach Board of Education declares the drive extending from William Silvers Parkway to the Performing Arts Center parking lot Mako Way. Be it further resolved that this resolution be placed among the official records of the Orange Beach Board of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkes. You've heard the resolution. We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
No, this is just a great idea. It just flows so much better than Carrider Road. And no, and I mean, it's awesome. I was going to ask you a question, Mr. Wilkes, when you get a chance.
Yes, sir.
This road name has already been approved through all the governmental entities, and it's
We have addressed that with 911, and it's a drive. Okay. It would be great if they followed suit.
absolutely.
It's like naming your driveway. I mean, really.
Any additional questions? Those in favor say aye.
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 There's no opposition. The motion carries. Next item, please.
Just two different things.
Code of conduct.
Yes, sir. Number 5, the superintendent recommends an amendment to the current 24-25 Student Code of Conduct to include recent legislation regarding student due process. Changes are noted in red font. If we have a first and a second, we'll ask Mr. Blevins if you'll go ahead and make your way on stage. I'll give you my microphone, sir, and you can address what that change is. Please do not confuse this with the discussion item, Student Code of Conduct. AASB simply recommends that we have a board policy saying that we will have a code of conduct. We've always just had it. We just haven't had a policy that says we'll have it. So not to be confused with board policy in the discussion item.
You've heard the recommendation. The chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Stewart, a second
Second.
by Ms. Robinson. We have a first and a second. Mr. Blevins.
Yes, sir. The state legislature had a very busy session, and especially at the end, as Matt can attest to. One of the items was due process. Now, looking at our current code of conduct, it matched up very closely. There's just some items that they've added that we wanted to make sure our code of conduct had in it when it came to due process. If you'll look at the top of page 4, that's where those items start. Basically, it comes down to this. If a principal, an administrator at the school level, finds that a student has committed an offense that violates the code of conduct or law that they feel will require a action of a long-term suspension, a long-term alternative school placement, or expulsion, basically the due process rules or I guess steps are outlined there, 1 through 8, 9, there at the bottom. just giving them the rights to be heard through a hearing. We already conduct hearings. This just outlines that process a little better. And then if you look down to the next section of red, and let me get down to that page for you. It is toward the back end after all of Code of Conduct, off the different codes that we have. It's on page 18. 18. Bullet about halfway down the page. That's just to make the number of days when we notify the parents of hearings, things like that, match what the state has put out in due process.
It's not a huge change for us. It's one of those things that when compliance monitoring comes along in April, we felt like would be necessary to have in our code of conduct. We don't always repeat Alabama law in our code. It applies whether we have it in there or not. Attorney Campbell, is that about right? Yes, sir. I think it's just a good, safe move. Yeah, absolutely. Any questions for Mr. Blevins?
Seeing no questions, we've had a first and a second. Those in favor of this recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
No opposition, the motion carries. We're now down to the financial statement and bank reconciliations.
The superintendent recommends the board approval of the attached financial statements.
You've seen those posted on the website and the portal. Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Stewart, second by Ms. Nix. Discussion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Discussion items.
We've got several discussion items. I think I mentioned to you in a correspondence at AASB through their pipeline. It's the first time we've actually purchased a pipeline, actually in my entire career. But I thought it was very helpful. There are some board policies after reviewing the pipeline, their publication, and looking at our board policy, felt like there were some things that maybe we should address. The first one is just graduation and commencement. We refer to graduation and commencement throughout our policy, but we really don't define it. And this is just one way to define it. Basically, it says that it's really a privilege to participate in such, and that the principal, if needed, can take away that privilege. And we already adhere to this, but it just felt like we probably needed to have that in writing. Of course, this is all, Matt, we'll get you copies of this if we have not already, give you your time to review these. Not every one of these affect employees, but I like to give you everything, okay? So we've got another board meeting September the 12th before we consider this again. So if you've got questions, you may not have any tonight, but if you come up with some, let me know. Are you good? Mm-hmm. All right. The second discussion item is that of employee gifts, and how this has changed. And Attorney Campbell, you feel free to weigh in on this one. What is a thing of value per se? That's kind of come up in our school system, and I felt like we just needed to better define it. This is pretty open. This is verbatim what AASB recommends. Again, if you've got questions or comments, I'll be glad to entertain. Attorney Campbell, anything you want to say along this?
I like it a lot just because it's not just $25 anymore.
No, it's going up.
It's pretty wide open.
Mm-hmm. And we wanted to keep our policy wide open.
Yeah, don't restrict yourself.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In reading this, just basically it's just showing alignment with Alabama's ethics law.
Yes. We always want to be ethical. Again, if you have questions, let me know. The next board policy is that of a code of conduct, and we, by what right do we have to create a code of conduct? Well, you approve that code of conduct every year, so by virtue it's board policy, but we don't have a policy saying that we'll create a policy manual, such as a code of conduct. Well, now we do, if you approve it, and that's basically what that's saying. Questions or comments? And then the next is that of the Teacher's Bill of Rights. This is quite extensive. This is almost verbatim what the legislative body and the governor passed and the governor signed off on. It's very procedural, yet They recommend that it's in board policy, so I don't think it's a bad thing by putting it in there. Again, it's one of those state laws. Attorney Campbell, if you want to, I don't know if any of the other systems are looking at this or not, but
Yeah, down the street, they're actually approving it tonight. I like the way that you kind of layered it into the code of conduct, though, so it makes it more simple, because it's a lot harder to go back to that policy, figure it out, if you didn't layer it into your code of conduct as well. That's really the way that you need to look at it as an administrator and use it. So I know it has to be the policy, but you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be a change and give you more layers to the cake on doing random routine punishments that didn't have to go to potential board level.
so we've gone over this with all of our leadership staff. They're fully aware of this. If you'll consider that, we'll put that into our board policy manual as well, and we'll be ready for compliance monitoring when they come and visit us. And then we've got the distribution of explicit images. We were actually working with this in our code of conduct, Mr. Blevins, several months ago, when AI, all the things came out as to what you could do with AI. They recommended a policy, and I don't think it's a bad idea at all. So, any distribution, solicitation, anything that is explicit involving a student, like editing and so forth, that is very much prohibited, okay? And we've got coverage under our code of conduct already. Now, if you do this, we'll have a policy. Any questions about the policies? The last first read we have is that of Director of Player Development, and it's a job description. It's very unique in that there's no pay. So if someone would like to do this, there are the job goals, the qualifications, the responsibilities, the means of evaluating, and salary is voluntary. Any questions? That's all of the discussion items.
Do we have a need for an executive session? I was not made aware of one.
I don't think in here would be a good idea, even if we did. Maybe at the next meeting, but not in here.
Okay. The next Orange Beach Board of Education meeting will be a special meeting to conduct a second budget hearing and consider one action item regarding a contract for student services. It is scheduled for Thursday, August 22nd at noon in the City Council chambers. And due to the conflicts of the homecoming activities, the September meeting will be Thursday, September 12th at 12 noon. Any further discussion items to come before the board from the board members? Seeing none, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion in probably 4
Second.
seconds. Second by Ms. Nix. Those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion carries. We are adjourned.